Okay, we're going to start today by making hand-cut coleslaw. And we're starting with a head of cabbage here. It's got a pretty good sized butt there. It looks in pretty good shape, but as always, I take the first layer off. And that's just generally what we do. So we're going to start with a knife like this for hand-cut coleslaw. It's razor sharp, and it's actually a pizza knife made to cut pizza, like this. I have a plastic countertop, and I prefer that because I don't have to worry about the knife getting dull on the plastic, and I don't know, well, every 2-3 years, just change it and put a new one on. Let's go ahead and get a little cut right down through here, get that big stalk center out of it, and pull that out. Let's get rid of that because that's where that heavy stalk is. Now we're going to prepare to hand cut coleslaw. I just want it in some manageable sized pieces that I can hold. Slide down the side. And let's just go ahead and start right here by slicing it straight across. Evenly, 1/4 inch or a little smaller each cut. The ingredients you see in the background, it's a simple recipe to make creamy hand-cut coleslaw. There's a thick piece I'll just throw away. Is going to be mayonnaise with olive oil, apple cider vinegar, salt, the pink type, Himalayan, medley type pepper with a white and a black pepper. This is stevia, artificial sweetener, and honey. And these are just basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients and coleslaw to give you a taste that lasts in the refrigerator 5 or 6 days before it really has any worry about anything, because the vinegar helps kill any foreign bacteria that might be in it when it's done, keeping it safe to eat for 4 or 5 days in the refrigerator. Of course, you put it in a covered dish and a cap in a cold refrigerator. So as we cut this up and get down to the bottom here, to where it's all just about a 1/4 inch cut, we'll slide these pieces aside, put that right in there where we can rock that blade back and forth to cut that up just a little bit more to give it a consistency that would be smaller pieces and larger pieces, to give it the texture as you eat it to be pleasant to the palate, texture wise. A lot of places in restaurants, when you go in and order something, especially in the South where they serve barbecue pork of some type of flavor or ribs or whatever, and the main ingredient on the menu that they advertise would be hand-cut coleslaw. Nothing quite like it in any other fashion. And I will show you how I do it with a food processor to do basically the same thing. But there's something about that hand-cut texture that you end up with, because you'll end up with some larger pieces and smaller pieces. As we work our way back across, we're getting real close, and I'll show you what I look for as we cut this, and give you the general idea you've cut it enough. More pieces in there, we'll do like that. Maybe one more time. And if you look at that blade, if the light's not, it almost looks like fresh fallen snow, the texture wise that's on there. And that's when I usually say, hey, you know, I think I've chopped it enough. Any finer than that, and not enough larger pieces. Let's go ahead and get the spatula. And pick this portion up and put in the bowl. Spatula works pretty good. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but that's all I have to work with here on this time. Sure, there's more things in the kitchen, but that's all I'm going to worry about for right now. I'm going to set that aside, bring out another piece, and do the same thing. Cut it in 1/4 inch or so slices off of that chunk. There's a big old thick piece. A lot of times, right on the outside edge, I just like to throw them away. It's a little too much. And there's more than enough coleslaw using a larger head of cabbage to last for a while. There's only one thing you can remember. When it goes bad, it's bad. When I make this larger proportion, everybody likes my hand-cut coleslaw so much, I put a little bit in a container and give to several of my friends at work and the neighborhood. So let's go ahead and get this part chopped up. Vinegar, one time I put the vinegar into a batch of coleslaw I was in a hurry to make. Put a little too much vinegar and my Aunt came. So now we're going to set up the food processor and show you how I mix the creamy coleslaw in the food processor. Plug that in, and it's got a safety lid through the latch, and it's working. So now with the mayonnaise, for that much, I would say better than brand new jar. For that much, I would use better than half of a bottle. That looks pretty good, right about half. And it's regular old honey. Let's put about a 1/4 cup of honey in there. And about a teaspoon of artificial sweetener. It doesn't take much. And the peppermint, we're going to run around up there and put a pile in there. Would be estimated to be, I'm going to call it a level teaspoon. I love the power grinder. That's about a level teaspoon of black pepper. And then this is the Himalayan salt, pink salt. I think maybe about a 1/4 teaspoon, which is good. And then when it comes to the vinegar, you want to be careful you don't put too much. Here's my measuring cup. And I'm going to put, and you can see that's a little over a 1/4 inch. That's going to be too much. Such a small amount in this large cup. That looks a little too much still. I want less than a 1/4 inch in that cup. It's about 5 inches at the bottom. Add that in. Now, put the top on. And mix it up. And whip it to the point where it gets creamy. Okay, pull the lid off. That looks pretty creamy. We're done with the grinder, or the processor. Let's bring the coleslaw. It's got a nice looking texture to it. And this should be on a bowl this size. I should have a layer somewhere around 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick on top of this. Let's see what we end up with. That's looking pretty good. You can see that's about 1/2 inch thick across the top of this thing, this mixing bowl of the creamy mayonnaise and mix. Let's go ahead and mix this in. And if it's too creamy, we can always cut up a little more slaw and add to it. And if it's not creamy enough, you can just add a couple heaping tablespoons of mayonnaise to the mix to make it the consistency that you like. That's looking pretty good, but I think it needs a little more to give it a little more creamy. It's looking real close. Let's finish mixing to make sure. Actually, it looks pretty good just the way it is. That looks good. Nice and creamy. And the real test is going to be to get a spoon and perfecto. I'm going to put this in the fridge. Keep it cold. And go ahead and clean my mess up.